Dude, did you know you can subscribe to onlywrestlers.com and keep in touch with your favorite wrestlers? The party never has to end.
One of a Kind with Rob Van Dam is recorded in front of a live studio audience.
This week's episode of One of a Kind with RVD is presented by Get Blitz, and you can get 15% off your order when you head to get-blitz.com and use promo code RVD. Get 15% off.
Rob Van Dam! Rob Van Dam! Rob Van Dam!
I'm Rob Van Dam. The whole show.
Feel me?
Yeah, do you feel us? Do you feel us? We feel you because it's a Monday night and we're on One True Sport. No, we're not. We're on RVDTV.com. We're on RVD's Twitter account. We are on RVD's YouTube channel. And it's one of a kind. I guess that you will never guess who I'm with. That's RVD.
Oh, god dang it. Every week.
Every week I throw you off, and here we are.
Warm up. I got to warm up. You can't bang me on the head with trivia right off the bat, dude.
Shoot. Well, here's some trivia. Who says this, Rob? Who is this?
You feel me? Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, I like that. Let's make that. I was thinking about maybe opening every show with a prayer.
Oh, okay. I'm Catholic, so I'm down.
We'll talk about it later, though.
Okay. But, all right. I was taking my head off. I was ready
Bobby with us. Yeah, we're gonna have a special sneak peek for Bobby's segment this week.
Yeah.
We'll circle back to that.
We'll circle back. We got some corporate speak going on. We're live though on RVD's Twitter account, on RVDTV.com, and on Rob Van Dam's YouTube channel.
And then it is on One True Sports, but not live, right?
Not live, correct? Yes.
But then when they hear it for the first time on there, then you say, "Oh, I didn't mean that. I'm not on One True Sports," but really, for them, you are, right?
Really? Yes. We're all over the grid.
Dude, I'm always surprised at how many people. That's like the main thing I hear now for feedback when I do appearances, signings, whatever. And I'm out, even, when I'm not at expected wrestling gatherings and I'm just out, like a lot of people, that's their most commonly heard thing I hear now is like, dude, man, I really like your podcast. And sometimes they even get a little deeper, say, hey, you've really helped me out a lot, and fucking, that's awesome. So I guess we got to keep doing it.
Heck yeah. I had a buddy text me. I wonder, do I have my phone on me? Yeah, he texted me.
Randall Tex Cobb?
Yeah, the Tex Cobb, exactly. Dude, I love Tex Cobb. When you talked about him and then I made the connection that he was in fucking Raising Arizona. Holy shit. I love that movie.
Yeah.
So this is the feedback one guy gave me. Scott Mason, who does a New York Jets podcast, he happened to tune in to your interview with Rene Dupree. He said, was just watching RVD with Rene Dupree and Maven, and I can see why you guys get along so well because you're both so chill. Rene was talking about how he wants to fight Bob Holly for revenge, and RVD said he didn't realize Rene was carrying that around for 20 years and advised him to just let the anger go. And it's just like giving that kind of aspect of it all is like, yeah, holding on to certain things and, being able to let go of it. It's a tough thing to do. Like, people hold grudges like crazy. And
this isn't just a grudge because, if anybody doesn't know the story, maybe I could attempt to tell it. As many times as I've seen it online being told by wrestlers, I don't think I've seen it told by RVD, but anyway, Rene Dupree had heat with Bob Holly, and it was like really big heat because, as the story goes, Rene borrowed Bob's car and went to the gym, and then Bob says that Rene got a ticket, ignored it, he thinks he wrinkled it up, threw it to the side, which I'm sure it didn't happen, and then didn't bother to tell Bob about it. The traffic or parking violation came back to Bob. He was super pissed. He said and we're so busy, screaming for a time off, and he was legitimately mad that he had to spend his time on his days off. He had to go to Ohio, I guess, to court for this ticket, and he was pissed. He was 100% convinced that Renee did it intentionally, I guess, to just didn't care to tell him or what. I don't know. I don't know why he couldn't see that it was a possible oversight, or that Renee never saw the ticket. They put those on your windshield, under windshield wiper. What kind of system is that? Anybody could come by and take it. And I think I've even done that as a kid,
Right.
I think I thought it was funny to take like the parking ticket off of someone's windshield. They won't know, anyway, Bob let it be known that he was he wanted to fight Renee, and he let it be known by everybody, and to Renee, and there was just like no stopping them. And they had a match. It was a tag match. Bobby and Charlie Haas against Renee and the Japanese dude, because Suzuki, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yes, Kenzo Suzuki.
Yeah, that's right. And anyway, thing is, Renee's trying to do the professional thing. It's so complicated at that time when you're getting eaten up by a veteran, because you don't want to appear more disrespectful, but at the same time, Bob was definitely crossing the line on the work shoot equation, and every single time Renee and Bob would be in the ring together, Renee would tag right out, but as he was trying his hardest to tag out ASAP, Bob was drilling him, left, right, right in the face. Boom, 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 all the way to the corner until Renee could tag and then jump through the ropes. And then, and that's how the match went, every single time. Boom, 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 boom. And after the match, ding, 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 because we're all watching at the curtain, like, this is ugly. And then after the match, Renee, when he jumps down to the floor, he's jogging, making time, coming back to the dressing room, and he stopped too early because he came jogging in, and when he came in, he felt like he was safe once he made it back to the room, and then he was like, but then Bob came behind him, whack, with a chair, and
Wow.
Yeah, and that was the last shot of the fight, and then it was okay, enough, everyone was, and the thing, and it's always been in Renee's grill, which I didn't say that I didn't know it still bothered him. I just said, it hurt to see how much it still bothers him, because that has a hold of his ego, and that's such a hard thing to deal with. We all know, it wasn't like a fight, it wasn't like a one-on-one, let's square up. It was Renee as the young guy having heat all the time just for being young and being jacked and being comfortable in the business. Those are 3 crimes right there to the meathead mentality code of ethics in the dressing room. So anyway, he did a promo, and it was like a great shoot promo, and he wants to fight Bob at Josh
Barnett. Bloodsport?
Bloodsport that he does at WrestleMania. And he wants it to be a fight. And I just said, hey, if you could make that happen, that would be great. That'd be awesome. I said, if not, because I heard him say that he knows it'll always be with him like his whole life. And I'm like, I don't think necessarily so, because I think you might grow to such a point that you look back at that moment and at yourself in that moment, and you see a different person, because when I look at me when I was a kid, which was, 20 years ago, I was in my 30s, still feeling like a kid. But when I look back, I see someone that wasn't me. A lot of decisions I would not make in the same way now that I have the bigger picture, the advantage of studying life for so many more years. And I just was trying to tell Renee, if you're not able to get him back, I know that it hurts and it's like explosive inside, but it's possible that, in my example, as I remember when Road Warrior Hawk kicked me out of a bar and he actually like shoved me in the back because I wasn't moving fast enough. And I remember going through my head, should I do a step behind sidekick right now? Like if I could get in, there's no way he's not selling that if I land it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, man, this is the moment. Should I do it? But then it's on. Or should I just walk out? Should I be passive and walk out? And I was, super young, like maybe, I don't know, barely old enough to get in the bar. This was probably 95, which would make me 24. But anyway, that was my example was, I don't think anything of it now. And he said, yeah, because he's dead. And I'm like, well, damn, I guess that's not a good example. But
did you think about it though when he wasn't dead though? Like,
but I mean, that night I did, I think,
but I mean, like later on
yeah,
after.
past it. That's what I was trying to say to him, but I remember like that night I was like, did I do the right thing? Because I had to lose face, so to say, in front of everybody. And it wasn't until I was in a room hanging out with some of the other guys, and then when they were all saying, that it would have been dumb to do anything except for what I did, and that was the right choice and everything, I started feeling a little better about it. But for a long time, I held that, man, next time I see him, man, I don't know. And then I didn't see him until Kane and I wrestled him, and
that dark match.
Yeah, in a match, and then he was totally different. Like it didn't happen to him. He has no idea probably that how much it stood out in my mind and how much it served as a pivotal moment in growth for me. And we had that match, and obviously Kane and I were over as hell, and they hadn't even been in the ring. They were looking for a job. There was a little bit of humility in a good word, as far as like being humble on the table. Boom, no worries. I'm not holding on to that anymore,
Yeah. When it comes to Renee, like the thing is he was so young at the time. Like he was like 19, and plus like his dad was in the business, so he had some knowledge beforehand of how to kind of like maybe position yourself or protect yourself. But at the same time, he's still a kid. And like the fact is like, I don't know, like Holly had a reputation of that, like being like, kind of laying it in or, getting a little over aggressive. And it just seems like an unfortunate thing Renee was a guest on here before, if you guys haven't heard it yet, but he was awesome. And I think I don't want you to speak for him by any sorts of the mean, but like, do you think he's holding part of it because it like stifled his push a little bit or got him kind of, look at Love
You. Love you, baby. You mean Renee or Bob?
Yeah, Renee. Do you think he's holding a little bit onto it because it maybe thwarted his career trajectory a little bit, or is it?
I really don't think it has any. I really don't think it has anything to do with that. It's an ego thing,
Mm-hmm.
Egos are not really prospectively a good thing. It's like always something I'm trying to overcome. If I make a decision and I realize, wait, I'm making that decision only based on my ego, then I'll reconsider it and usually change my mind about something. That could be anything. It could be like someone at the gas station wanting to arm wrestle.
Yeah.
And it's like, this guy thinks he can beat me. I'm a good arm wrestler, And then it's like, what do I got to win, And then what do I got to lose? And we talked about that lots of times on here when that's a gamble that is so not worth it anymore. But if I did do that, then it would be an ego. And like if somebody says, would you want to fight that guy? And that's why, if it's not for ego and it's for competition, then it's cool. If it's for ego, then it's usually a self-serving, unnecessary like repairment for a break in your confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the way I can think of, and it's like, and you notice like when two people are going to fight and they're screaming at each other, each one of them, their ego tells them not only that they're Superman, but also they're so offended that the other person doesn't realize that they're Superman,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that happens like almost every time, it's like, what? No, you're not going to talk to me like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just did, motherfucker. What are you going to do? What am I? No, trust me, bro. Trust me, I'm not the right one, bro. You're fucking with the wrong one. You don't know who I, dude. I don't give a fuck who you are. Who the fuck?
Yeah.
What am I, a piece of shit, dude? I'll kick your fucking ass. I don't care what. No, bro, trust me. If you knew who I was, all of a sudden, it's like, whoa. How can I get this person to fix the crack he just put in my self-confidence? Like I have, if you really look behind it, that's what it is, because your ego wants your indestructibility to be a true thing, and so it'll tell you that. And if someone else disagrees with it, there's a challenge. Now there's something you got to fix. You got to. So you might hate that guy. Have a few friends like that. Like a guy wants to. I don't want to get into him, but he's giving me these big messages about how he dreams of torturing this guy and cutting his legs off and all this stuff. Yes, he probably should be reported, and he is an explosion waiting to happen that I don't want to be around. But it was over like nothing too. It wasn't like he raped his mom, killed anybody. It was just over his ego.
Yeah.
His ego was bruised one time, and so he's like, "Oh, I have these things, man. I'm gonna do it. Why is that so important to him? Because his ego's unhealthy, only because it's challenged.
Right. That's it. And I heard too, like from my therapist, she mentioned that one of the most powerful emotions that you have, that a person has, and probably the most powerful feeling that you get, is shame. So if like you get shamed or feel any kind of disrespect or anything like that, you can really kind of carry a lot of that stuff with you.
Yeah. I mean, and in certain cultures, it's a crime. That's why in certain cultures, it's okay for fathers to kill their daughter if they brought shame upon the family by getting raped. Crazy values, but sometimes it's like multicultural where they look at it like that. But anyway, with Bob, he also, another thing, I hate the eye for an eye.
Yeah.
Some people live by that, swear by it. They say Sicilians never forget. That's the vendetta. Like they'll go generations and generations to fucking kill somebody. You killed my great grandfather in Sicily, and they're known for that. But man, when if you can rise above it and move past it and just grow to the point to where it's not affecting you anymore because you're too big, I recommend going that route.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to keep your ego in check. It's a lot of times when you do that, it's more admirable than like forcing it on somebody or like acting upon your ego and stuff like that.
Yeah. To break it down to the simplest terms, because a lot of people that are listening didn't make it past where I was when I was still in Battle Creek, Michigan, wanting to get out. Right. So I've just been traveling around the world getting experience since then. But I remember like way back then when I had that more localized mindset, I remember like in high school, like kids that I didn't like or whatever, like, someday, I'm gonna be, I'm gonna work. I remember way back, but I'm gonna work. I'm gonna kick his ass sometime when I find him, and then eventually, for me, it's like I totally rose above it. All of a sudden, I'm like. A big star that they all look up to now. I can't be holding grudges to them because they all changed everything in their head so they can tell their kids, oh yeah, we were best friends, man. We used to have pizza together and stuff. And I can't come back, like holding 5-year-old grudge about, do you remember when you pulled my underwear up and I told you stop it and you wouldn't stop it? Or something equal to that. But
Rob, what happens when you meet up with somebody like that, like from your old class or something that like, yeah, they play it off like, oh yeah, we're great friends and stuff like that. Do you just be like, oh yeah, we're all right? Or do you be like, nah, we weren't that tight?
You know what? I'm always thankful that they seem to remember me in a more likable way than I would expect them to. That's how I take it.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, there's one kid. I feel like I was a bit of an asshole bully to him that lived a couple doors down, and he was 1 or 2 grades under me. And I was always wanting to do wrestling moves on him and stuff. But also, I also feel like because I would always go a little too far and he would get hurt, and I feel like looking back, I feel like I was mean, but I got to talk to him. Decades later, and he was talking about all the great times we had and how he loved wrestling with me and stuff like that. And so I was like, wow, that's really good. And I'm glad because he seemed sincere, and we did have some good times, just like kids, I guess. But I felt, looking back at it, like there was a lot of times where I felt like my ego was saying, bow down to me. You know what I mean? Admit that I would win every time. You know that you're beneath me. Like those things that when I identify them, it's almost toxic to know that I have that inside of me, but everybody does.
Oh, everybody does. Yeah.
And people usually don't care to break it down and get rid of it, but I do. So it's really a weird thing to deal with. And I'm glad that Tony said that to me and relieved that weight because he ended up dying very young.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was that the guy you wrestled with?
The guy was a couple doors down, man. I just remember like squeezing his head, really hard with the headlock one time, trying to get him to say something, say uncle or whatever. And I heard his nose pop, and and they started crying. I was like, oop. And I remember things like that, but he remembered the more fun times, which is cool because, I always say that when I look back, I don't like me as much as other people liked me just because I look at all my worst points, the perspective of my mind compared to where it is now and my placement in the universe and society. When I think about it, when I was still a child, which was until my mid-40s, that that I'm always thankful. I'm always thankful when I read people in a positive way.
Yeah, heck yeah. It's tough though too, Rob, because even now I look at myself and I'm very, very critical, like what I can improve on and what like I see better in other people than I do myself. And I'm just like, yeah, there's a lot I can still work on and to try to be better at and be more cognizant of. And it's always an ongoing process. So
yeah, if you're listening and you think, man, you know what? RVD inspires me because he comes across as genuine. I would like to be like that. If you happen to be in that position, then here's one little piece of advice. It's a step you can take towards being genuine, because obviously genuine has to do with being real, not just other people, but real to yourself. And not always. I lie to myself all the time and have for years. I always tell myself when I go to bed, I'm going to wake up like at 3 or 4 in the morning and work out. And then at 3 or 4 in the morning, I'm like, the next time I got to get up and pee. And then pretty soon it's like, well, it's the next morning now. But I do that though. I do stupid things. I leave lights on when I go to bed to because I think that's going to make me get up more. I won't take my nighttime meds or vitamins because I think that's going to make me get up more. But I've always done that. Like there's things like that, and Katie and I were talking about it. She's right. I just lie to myself. I keep my contacts in and sleep in them until 6:30 in the morning. I finally say, you know what? I'm not going to work out on Wednesday. I'll just get up in 3 hours and call it Thursday. But anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. But it's when I say being real with yourself, it's more your feelings, how you feel, how your spiritual vibration is affected by certain people or things. That's real, that's genuine. And a lot of times it's not consistent with how people say that they feel about certain things or genuineness. And also, if whether you like somebody or not is based on how they feel about you, how genuine is that? You know, and I'm going to try and say it a different way. Let's say you ask me about somebody really random, Ronda Rousey, right? And let's say I say, oh man, you know what? She did a lot for the female fighting, and she's badass. You know, like she was unbeatable for a long time. You know, I really respect her a lot, and she's awesome. Yeah, I'm a fan. And then you say, well, what if I told you she did an interview and she says that she thinks you're an asshole? If that changes what I just said, then I'm not very genuine, am I? Does that change? Does that change? Well, she said I'm an asshole. Well, fuck her then. I was just trying to be nice about her and say some good shit about her. Man, fuck that. That's not genuine. But I feel like that's most people. And it's not that most people are genuine, but they don't think about it because it's easier to just be a basic thinker. But her thinking I'm an asshole, what does that have to do with what I just said about her, what she's done for the women, and what a great fighter she is, this and that? It shouldn't change anything about what I said, but a lot of people aren't, they're not as aware of what their self-emotions are genuine, what are real, and what aren't, just because society teaches you to respond in such a stupid way with stupid values that you're really above. So, you know, if you hang out with people, like say your parents train you to do an eye for an eye, you know, that's how they train you, is that, hey, you know, don't let anybody ever get over on you. Don't tell, if they start disrespecting you, you get in their face. If you have to, you make sure you poke them in the eye, you know, make sure they don't ever disrespect you again. I mean, if you grow up like that, then those are going to be the values that you accept until you reprogram yourself and say, that's stupid. What am I going to do? Go to jail? I poked somebody in the eye because they said they didn't like my shoes or whatever. And so anyway, that's one step, is think about your true feelings are how you feel regardless of the input of said person or thing. You know, this band, oh man, they got a lot of hits. They got fucking a bunch of number ones. You know, people love them. You know, I don't really get them, but hey, I support them, you know, crushing it out there, living their dreams. That's really cool. You know, oh, they said I'm a dick? Man, fuck them. You know, those people are stupid. You know, the fans, dude, they got like 50 people gathered in a little fucking, they're not even drawing. Like, no one knows who the fuck they are. That kind of shit turns me off in life. And it's like, I think it's unfortunately, I think there's a lot less people that would think like me and try to be more transparent with themselves and admit that that's what you're doing. If you can think of, I don't know, Dom, if you can think of decisions like that, but we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect, but that's just something to work on.
Yeah. I mean, like when it comes to like making like decisions on like I'm trying to think if there was an instance where like somebody said something that like kind of upset me and changed my outlook on them immediately. I'm sure there is, like, where there's moments where I want to bleed into that. Well, they called me a dickhead. Well, you know what? Fuck them then, you know, or anything like that.
That's all you know about that person, and you're creating your opinion on this person off of this very minimal experience where they did something that was not cool. Then that's a whole different story.
Well, I mean, here's a small example too. Last week we had Sandman on, and like he was an amazing guest, and like I bullshitted with him before you got on, and we were talking about Philadelphia and all that stuff. Here, I'm like thinking like Sandman might be kind of hard to talk to. I don't know how he's gonna be or anything like that. And here he was like one of the greatest people to talk to, like when it comes to interviewing or just talking with him. And so like my impression of him immediately, like was all huh?
Do your impression of him.
Yeah, my impression of him. Yeah,
do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, do your impression.
Oh, hey, all right, dude, you got to go to Maniac, dude. That's my impression of him. So even a small thing like that is like completely changes a viewpoint on something like that. And I'm like, dude, Sandman was one of the greatest people to talk to, where I thought he would be a hard person to talk to just based on who he portrayed himself on television as. So it's kind of neat to, even though those are aspects.
Great dude, as are all of my close brothers.
Heck yeah. Some fascinating stories, guys. If you go back and listen to that, that's our most watched episode, full episode yet to date. Rob is after that episode. So, guys, check it out if you haven't yet. He's an awesome guest. Love to have him on again and tell some great stories. Keck says here, unbelievable of a person like Rob to be genuine and the success he's had to share in his life and honesty and spread that. Fascinated as a kid and even bigger fan today with the social media contact.
Sweet. Appreciate it, Keck.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I think about that. I think maybe some of the things I say, maybe no one has said that before, or people haven't heard that before. So that's what I'm hoping, is that people that I reach and get through to and can see me, I'm hoping that they are affected in that way, to where, hey, you know what, that made sense. I'm gonna work on that if they want to. You know what I mean? Like, if sometimes someone gives you advice and it's really good and you remember it your whole life, and I'd be stoked if I'm able to help people in that way.
I think you saying it too helps validate a lot of this stuff, because they could hear it from somebody else. They could hear it from just a random person. Maybe it does influence them hearing it from somebody that they appreciate in their daily life, but coming from somebody like you, I think adds that added effect, because they see you in a different light, in the wrestling ring, and getting different advice from a guy that you normally wouldn't expect to hear something from like this I think the fans appreciate that.
Cool. I hope so.
O'Reilly. Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today. O'Reilly
Auto Parts. By the way, being genuine and down to earth like I am, sometimes when I meet somebody that new and they don't know exactly what I'm doing. Say for instance, guy coming out to work on my pool deck on the stones and stuff. We're talking and shit. Oh, what do you do, Rob? What do you do? Oh God. I don't like talking about myself like that much, but eventually he gets it out of me. I'm a rascal. Oh, no kidding. Well, like wrestling, like TV, and it's like, I try to avoid it, but then because I'm so humble, he thinks that I would act different if I knew how big of a star I was, because he starts talking to his people that know wrestling. Yeah, do you know a guy, Rob Van Dam? And of course they do. And oh my God, and so then I have them guys telling me, like the pool guy, that guy telling me like, hey, you got a lot of fans. I mean, they really like you. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool, man. It's a good part of the job. But no, I mean, like, dude, they.
You're pretty big.
Yeah. Sometimes I have that happen. That's a little annoying, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
You think so? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you may know me.
But usually, like something happened a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember where we were, but whoever we were with was asked right as we were about to go step out in the public, are you recognized a lot? You know, like the people wanna. I said, you'll see. I said, yes, you'll see. Everyone. I can't remember if we're in a mall or something weird, you know. But then people are usually excited that RVD's in their presence, and you know, it's not just they recognize me, but they love me.
They do. When we were together, when we were together for Vegas at the Cauliflower Alley Club, and we were walking down Fremont Street, it was kind of neat because there would be people going, "Dude, it's RVD," and you're like, "Yeah, can I?" They're like, "Can I get a picture real quick?" And you're like, "Yeah, sure." And it's just kind of neat to see that. I expected it, obviously, but it's still neat to see.
Well, it's cool to live it. You know, I get a lot of love everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would imagine even other wrestlers that are on TV and recognized a lot probably don't have as many people tell them, "Dude, you were my favorite, man. I swear." You know.
Yeah.
And that's not just my ego talking. It's from feedback. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe fans tell every wrestler that they were their favorite. But standing out like I do, it means a little more to me.
Heck yeah, it does. That's pretty nice. Did you get anxiety like when you were younger and stuff like that, and fans would just be like kind of enamored or fascinated by you, or would that give you kind of like, oh man, dealing with all these fans is like, I'm sure it's rewarding, but was that initially like anxiety inducing, like, oh, I got to interact with fans and do all this stuff, or was that something that was kind of organic for you?
I can't remember a time when I was anxious about it, except, you know, overwhelmed and uncontrolled crowds. That's happened. But no, I mean, I think it was gradual, you know, like my first year that I'm wrestling, you know, I'm signing 2 to 4 autographs at some of the first shows, you know. Wow, man, those kids wanted my autograph, and this was, you know, only my 3rd show. That's so awesome. And they didn't want the other guys, you know.
Yeah.
They came up to me when we all walked out. That's fucking awesome. So
yeah,
it was something to grow and grow the fan base, you know, and start selling your autographs when you get to that stage. And so I think it was gradual enough to where, except for overwhelming conditions where there's not enough security or structure, organization, and there's too many people, which has happened a few times, then otherwise it's all been good.
It's all that's cool. Yeah, I think like kind of like dipping your toes in where a couple fans first approach you and they're like, "Hey, we're big fans," and all that stuff, and then it kind of develops over time. You get like kind of more accustomed to it a little bit too, I bet. Pretty neat. All right, we did have a super chat. Jem the Dawn, who happened to be at the Only Wrestlers inaugural show there. He said, "Sup, Rob? I love my weekly RVD pod. You'll see you at WrestleCon too."
Sweet. Yep.
Yeah.
Got to meet the good Jem at Only Wrestlers Association in Hollywood just a few days ago.
Yeah. How was that, Rob? How was the whole event for you?
It was good, man. The people were really appreciative of it. They want to support it. It was a sellout, you know. And the only thing that sticks out that wasn't really great was that Brian Cage got hurt to some extent, which I don't know what extent right now. And I don't want to open my mouth before he wants to tell everybody, but I don't know. But him and Chris Masters had a match that ended the show with Brian Cage down, his leg hurting. And before the show tonight, I was messaging him and he was actually at the doctor, so I'll find out afterwards. But that stands out, you know, like, man, what a bummer, because what a great night it was. It was cool. Violent J had this big set for his fun house, and you know, for his interview segment, And then, man, the matches were good. The people were awesome, and like I said, they're appreciative of it too. We need to learn how to engage the platform more, I think, so that it's interactive during the live shows.
Oh,
I think that's what would make it different than the other show, wrestling, which was the goal originally. Was, what would I do that would be different? So. Hopefully we'll do that, but this is definitely the kickoff, so we could all learn about each other and about how we can go, and it was just move forward. And it was very positive. Great show, everybody. Everybody worked their asses off. Let's see who Morton's kid and
Terry Morton.
Morton. Yeah, I'm trying to think of who else. Who else was on the show?
Tessa. I know Tessa was on there. Chris Masters, obviously.
Match. She was awesome. Mm-hmm. Chris Masters was awesome. He was the one standing when Cage was down at the end. But yeah, it was a really cool thing, and everybody seemed to enjoy it, and it was cool being in Hollywood. And our next show will be in Chicago. It looks like May for Only Wrestlers. So we'll be getting info to start talking about that in the very near future.
We might have to make some plans for the Windy City coming up then.
Yeah. And I met Seth, who does our music.
Yeah, that's right.
And Jem the Don. And I don't know. Some of the other ones, it was streaming too. I saw Ashley B or Ash B, who's always in my messages, said that it was a great show, and I don't know if she was there or if she watched it on streaming, but I have yet to get all of that info, but it was really cool. And since I used to live in LA, it was kind of cool being back there, except for dealing with traffic. But when we were in our little hub, around Hollywood and Highland, it was cool revisiting that area.
Did I see Fonzie ref the match too?
Two matches.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool.
That was cool.
It's you always see him as the manager now, obviously. But
I asked him. I said, "How long's it been since you reffed?" And he says every once in a while he gets booked to do that. So I didn't realize that, but so he's our head senior referee.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool. Hell yeah. Well, I'm going to record with Fonzie tomorrow. No, Wednesday. We're going to
Cool.
But that's awesome. Hell yeah.
Ask him about OWA.
I definitely will do that. Heck yeah. We'll be talking about that for sure.
I got to mark out and tell everyone all the Hollywood history as we just walked around a few blocks, and that was enjoyable for me because that's what I used to do.
That was your vibe right back then. Yeah. Speaking of marking out, I watched the highlights, but there was the clip running around it, and I never knew this happened. I did not know this occurred, that you fought Paul Orndorff in WCW.
Yeah, man. I was. Well, let's see. This would have been 92 or beginning of 93, probably 93. This was January, February, March. Okay. Now that I've had some time to think about it and clear my MU receptors off.
Good. Oh, thank God.
Yeah, they were getting dirty. This would have been April, May, sometime March, April, May of 93. I wrestled Paul Orndorff, and I was excited about it. What stands out in my match, in my mind, of course, was my imperfection, because I remember before the match him saying, when I pick you up for a pile driver, when I pick you up, make sure your legs are straight up. Mm-hmm. Straight up. He said a lot of people let their legs hang or whatever, and it fucks it up. It's ugly. Straight up. I said, okay, cool, I got you. And I thought I did, but when I watch it, I always see at the end, I see my legs like split and kind of fall to the sides when he picks me up for the pile driver. So that's really what I remember, because I was like, oh, shoot, darn it. I wish I could have that over to do over again. It might have been my first pile driver. Who knows?
Wow, and you're known for the pile driver.
Yeah. right? My cell has come a long way.
That's it. Man, I just watched it too. Hold on, I gotta pop myself out. I just watched it, and yeah, your legs are open a little bit, but it was a good sell, I think, still nonetheless.
I guess it wasn't horrible, but that's what I remember was that, it's Paul Orndorff. I wanted to do really well working with him. I was a mark for him, grew up watching him. Took a picture recently of one of my arms looking like him.
Oh, yeah.
No pop on that? Or,
I popped. No, I got it because you were doing the.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
but yeah,
mhm.
I and I've seen the clip, so I remember that part, the spot out of the corner, and the clips that I've seen. So it's cool. I was just getting known, and so were those moves back then.
That was the neat thing about it. I was like, how wild is this that, I see Paul Orndorff like rushing the turnbuckle, and there's RVD like leaping over him and doing like your patented moveset kind of thing. And I was like, this is like shades of what we're going to see from RVD later on. I just thought that was such a neat kind of visual. Yeah. Wrestling worlds colliding.
We've never seen anything like it.
Nothing like it. Nothing like it.
And I was barefoot, and I had my singlet or unitard with no airbrushing whatsoever. Nothing. So it was a pre-RVD.
That was the Robbie E version of it. Robbie E.
V. Yeah, Robbie E's.
Robbie E's the Jersey Shore one.
Yeah.
The Jersey Shore version of Rob Van Dam.
Right.
Hey, before I forget, did you find out what your rating is on the new WWE game? I've been meaning to talk to you about this.
No.
You didn't?
No. How would I know that?
I don't know. I don't know if a fan messaged you or anything to that effect.
Well, we were talking about that. A friend told me that I was one of the most powerful ones, and that, right? Is that the same game?
You know what? It still holds true. You're a 90 overall on the game, and that's like one of the highest ratings, I think.
And this is a new game?
This is the brand new game, WWE2K25. You're a 90 overall.
Sweet. Out of 100?
Out of 100.
Cool.
So you still get an A if you're in college.
But who's higher, man? Everyone knows no one gets higher than RVD.
Let's see. Oh, that's a good point. Let's see. Highest WWE2K25 ratings.
A little higher.
Who beats out RVD in the ratings here?
Who dares?
Roster ratings. Let's see here. SmackDown Hotel. Who has a... All right, I'm looking here. I bet you probably they're big kahunas. So who's their big kahunas here? You're better than Booker T. Shoot! Booker T's an 85.
I've always known that. Book.
You're on the same level as Bray Wyatt. He's a 90 overall.
Oh.
The Hitman beat you. He's a 93.
Oh, that's cool.
Bruno beat you by 1. He's a 91.
Virgil
does not beat you.
Oh, who'd you say?
Oh, Bruno Sammartino.
Oh, okay, cool.
He's a 91.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. CM Punk is a 92.
Oh, all right.
Ooh, Charlotte Flair's a 92.
Oh, all right.
Let's see. Diesel is an 87. You beat Big Daddy Cool.
Okay.
Oh, you're on the same level as Eddie Guerrero. He's a 90. Dusty Rhodes is a 91.
So what does that mean? That means
their overall rating. So I don't know what they all include. I haven't played this game in years. So
does that give you a better chance of your moves going over the other guy's moves when you're competing move for move? Or
I think it maybe gives you better, like, depending on how they do some of the statistics or something like that. Is that like, maybe you have a better chance at reversals, or this person's more powerful, or, this guy's got more strength. You might have more speed in a certain category than I would imagine Dusty Rhodes would. So it's like kind of balances out to like who the overall rating is what it encompasses then. So it doesn't necessarily mean that. So like, yeah, if you're like using you're going to be faster than Dusty at that. And so then that'll probably work a little bit better in your favor if you're using it. So there you go.
Okay.
That's a few of the ratings there. So get the game if you guys are intrigued.
Maddie, I love this.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure it's probably been said before, so I won't go out and make a T-shirt. But Maddie, Mr. Marijuana says RVD is your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler.
Ooh, we can make a shirt of that, though.
That's so true. Has anyone ever come out with that?
I don't think so. We can make it.
It's so true, too, because everyone grew up wanting to be RVD.
Ain't that the truth? Maddie, you are coming up with some gems. My buddy was that I hang with, he was talking about Maddie. He was like, hey, there's a guy in the chat, Maddie. I was like, oh, yeah, Maddie's our mainstay here. He's always setting it up. So,
and by the way, I'm looking at also Maddie. Well, you're probably going to get to it. Anyway.
I'm looking. Wait, he posts several times, so I'm not sure which one it is.
Yeah. Well, this one says the support Maven and RVD gave Renee 420 brothers. Yeah, there you go. Boom. One thing that I found funny about the whole situation with Maven and myself, the conversation, some of the fans, like, they come across like being so ridiculously ignorant, you know, like there's a few comments I've read on there on the YouTube. I don't remember whose page, but they're like, wow, Rob's really sensitive to be so hurt over this. And everyone always thinks that I'm way more upset than I am, but you've been wrestling 35 years. You remember a lot of the wrestlers, not a lot, but you remember some of the guys actually smelling horribly. And somebody does an interview and they say the worst smelling guy they can remember is you. Now, does it take a sensitive guy to want to point that out when he has a platform looking for topics to discuss? I mean, it's right there. And it's like, well, he probably thinks about the marijuana that he's saying that, because I think that's probably what I smell like. And I never heard anybody else say that I got body odor. But then he goes on to say in the same breath that I didn't use deodorant. And so, like, it's definitely worth talking about. So the fans that don't get that, they think if it was them, like if the kids at school said that you were the worst smelling kid, and you were, and it just went right over your head, and you didn't even remember that they said it afterwards, then you might want to give yourself a smell down.
You want to give yourself a check.
Maybe you should care if you really don't care that much. But the whole thing was ridiculous. Yeah, as I said on Renee's show, you know, he said, "Do you accept my apology?" I said, "Come on, of course." It was just ridiculous. It was just fodder for conversation, but also it was funny and it was remarkable as far as like, hey, this happened this week. I was named as smelliest wrestler that Maven could ever remember. So yeah, you're not making me like rethink what I'm doing when you leave stupid comments like that. You know, like, man, maybe I guess I'm too sensitive or salty. I don't even know what that means, but I saw salty is one adjective. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know.
Salty, it can usually have a negative connotation, I think.
Sounded like it. What time?
That's like a different term for like butthurt, when you're butthurt or something.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. In Japan, one time we had to ask, because it didn't make sense to me. I'd never heard the expression before, but there was something written in Japan, and we asked the Japanese girl, you know, what does this mean? And it said that RVD and Sabu were like salt and watermelon. And I didn't know how to take that. I was like,
that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I found out. But I wasn't so sure. I don't want salt on my watermelon.
Yeah, no, people like salt on their watermelon. They can also put chili powder on it. Have you heard of that?
No. Oh yeah, not on watermelon, but on some fruit. They do that at the beach. They sell it like
mango. Do they do it on mango too?
I think it's mango. Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah. I worked at Whole Foods. So I still do, but I mean, we did the demos and stuff, and I would do chili powder on watermelon, chili powder on mango and stuff, and saute them.
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. What's up?
Fun facts. Hey, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. We talked about John Cena turning heel. And like, I don't know if we talked about his promo. No, I don't think we talked about his promo yet. But I did want to ask you about the aspect of him not changing his look or his music or anything like that. Now, he gave his reasoning in the promo, and I thought that was good, but I always felt like it feels like a bigger impact when you change your look or your music, or it gives it that, oh, this is heel John Cena, like Hogan did when he turned heel.
Yeah.
But I know it's not the same thing, but I kind of wanted your outlook on that and what you think about something like that.
I think it would be good, if he doesn't want to change his look, then that's cool. I never changed my look throughout my whole career, but I can also see where if all of a sudden he had like jet black hair or something, that would really drive the point home in a more obvious way, and also make it seem like he's gone through some changes in his mind, because I assume when people do shit like that they're going through some changes in their head where they're like, I'm gonna make my hair purple or whatever it is they do. So yeah, I mean, I could see goth John Cena as a heel.
Emo Cena.
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
Why not? Well, the thing is, so the way he made the case for himself in that promo was that he's like, that is my voice, that is my music. And he's like, he also said that, and I'm not changing the way I look because this is what I established as me. And he's like, and everybody is wearing that stuff because of me. And so that's the reasoning he gave. And it made sense, but I was like, oh man, I'd just like to see, this is heel John Cena right here. And I remember
that's more consistent with wrestling and the entertainment aspects of it. And I agree that would be cool, but I'm sure he's gonna get heel John Cena over nonetheless.
Oh yeah, for sure. And plus, I mean, he's doing the farewell tour, so anywhere those shirts go, they're gonna sell because they make them specialty for the event that he's at. So it's another marketing reason too, I'd imagine. It helps us out too. Additionally, if you want to help out the show, you can go to 1tsport.com. We got exclusive RVD merchandise, including the new TV title championship shirt and merch. We got mugs. We got a tumbler. We got a lot of good stuff on there for that you can do and check out. So be sure to go to 1tsport.com. And like Rob said, Only Wrestlers. You can sign up now. Sign up now at onlywrestlers.com, and you can get in. Subscribe for free. You can subscribe to Rob's channel for free, Katie Forbes' channel for free, and the Only Wrestlers account for free. But if you happen to subscribe to one of the people's shows that is going to be on the next show, you will get that show streaming on your thing. And all you have to do is pay $6.95 for a subscription typically, and you get the show. So you can be on the forefront and catch that live. I'm sure there will be an on-demand version of the eventual inaugural show that Rob just did. So we'll have to get further details on that. I'll be happy to help try to facilitate something like that. But yes, so you can check it out, onlywrestlers.com. So yeah, be sure to do that. Here, I'm texting Rob right now. You froze up and are gone. I am plugging the show. And yeah, guys, if you have questions, let me know, and we can get to cooking on that too. All right. So let's see what people are saying here in the chat. Ricky Bobby 420 says he was just contemplating life is all. So funny when Sabu froze. Like, we were all talking, and then we're like, Sabu, what do you think? And then he's just like sitting there, and we're like waiting, and he was not there. Maybe Bad Business Bobby did screw things up here. Did he hack us? What the heck happened here? And his name is John Cena. Yeah, what did you get? Oh, okay. So Triple E says John Cena's promo today was great. I haven't got to check out Raw yet, so I'm intrigued to see it. I saw that there were clips. I wanted to make sure I had the right time and everything like that to invest myself into it. Tomorrow on Rumor and Innuendo with Robert Karpelis. You can check that out at noon Eastern Standard Time every Monday through Friday on the Rumor and Innuendo channel, on ad-free shows, more stuff like that. So help support that show in that way too. We have a good time over there. Lobo says Maven knew RVD was smelling good from all those good Mary Jane strains from back in the day. How about that? So Ricky Bobby went the other way and criticized Maven quite a lot in the comments. Well, so I know Maven was well-meaning and stuff like that, so I didn't fault Maven for anything. And I thought his apology was really nice, and he seems like a really, really good dude. Really good dude. Just keep living. It says, when people ask me about my favorite all-time wrestlers, RVD makes the list and has for over 20 years. Rob is has been one of my favorite wrestlers forever. Like, no joke. I was a novice in pro wrestling, like just a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed WCW fan. But when ECW hit my radar, it almost felt like watching MTV in my house, whereas like you got to kind of be careful when you do. And so there was the intrigue of tuning into ECW and being like, oh man, this feels like I shouldn't be doing this. And then seeing RVD and somebody like that, it's like, dude, this guy's fucking cool. And like just kind of, enhanced the product and was just perfect for the ECW brand, obviously. And so it's just like to see him in that, like, he was always a top wrestler of mine. And it's pretty cool to do the show with him. So let's see what else there is. Yeah, I have dirt sheet episodes in my head that I want to do. I just haven't gotten around to doing them yet. So my plan is to maybe do clean up the dirt sheets of the show I do on OneTrueSportNetwork.com or OneTrueSportTV.com, and where I talk about the dirt sheets and some of the behind the stuff info, kind of peels back the curtain, kind of speaks truth to power in certain ways. Yeah, it's something that I want to continue to do, and I have a couple episodes in my head that I want to get out there. Just a matter of time of doing it. So we'll have to see how that goes. Rob texted me back. He's probably trying to get back on right now. I wonder what happened. Sometimes he's get those, I can't remember what he said, light flares or solar flares. I think that screw up his connection. So maybe that might have been it. We'll keep reading some comments here. Jim the Don says, I remember being 6 years old, staying up late and sneaking in to watch MSG Network on the Black Box and watch RVD on ECW. Oh yeah, how about that? MSG Network, dang. Yeah. So I was a late bloomer when it came to ECW. I started tuning in probably like not 2000-ish, if that sounds right. Whenever I got to TNN is when I really started watching it, and really cool. I was a huge mark for Little Guido. Little Guido and RVD were my top two, and that's not a joke either. And Tommy Dreamer was up there too, but Little Guido and RVD were my top two guys. And then speaking of tops, Duccaneer XI says, my top three ever since I was a kid is RVD, Eddie, and Ray. Pretty cool. They all got to tag with each other quite a bit on SmackDown. Duccaneer, I don't know if you saw this. This clip was floating around too, where Eddie and RVD fought the Dudleys, or they were at least in the ring with the Dudleys. They got them down, and they both did double frog splashes. I never saw that before, and I thought that was really cool. Kurt Angle was sitting at ringside, and Kurt's great too. So, good comments there. What's up, Warlord? 187. Good to see ya. 2:30 a.m. in the UK. Maddie's loving life right now because he is in Australia, and it is 10:34 a.m. there, from what I know, from what Maddie told me. Let's see here. Any other fun comments we got? I'm going to scroll about through. Duccaneer says, New Jack officially being in WWE game still sounds like an alternative universe, but it's so cool he finally made it. Yeah, somebody will have to let me know how he is to play as on the game. When the money becomes feasible, I will be sure to purchase the game and check it out myself. It's been a couple of years. I bought 2K23, but I never really played it. So I didn't get a very overall experience. I miss the No Mercy style games and stuff like that, or SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain. Those are my two favorites. Well, my two favorites is WCW NWO Revenge and probably SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain. Fun fact, my go-to wrestler on SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain was RVD. Keck says 90 overall, accurate. Instead of being overly jacked, Rob's high-flying style is totally made up. Yeah, absolutely. That's what made him so fun to play on SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, too. The only thing is it was easy to reverse the 5-star frog splash, I believe, because it was a top rope move. And so you could easily kind of reverse that, like just move out of the way. If you use like your finisher button or whatever, you can reverse the move. So it was tough to do that kind of thing. boy, what problems. Yes, I agree. There needs to be a No Mercy follow-up, even if they just streamline. Well, coming up, there's that Ultra Pro Wrestling game, which, funny enough, Sabu's on. My other co-hosts, Greg Gagne, Magnum TA, are both going to be on it. And plenty more. Sandman, recent guest, will be on that. Fonzie will be on that. So, yes, Ultra Pro Wrestling. Take a look at that. Maddie loves 2K25. I'm curious how the gameplay is. Is it easy to pick up and play, or is it tougher? So let us know. Let me know, Manny, how you feel about the gameplay itself. That's what I'm kind of big into. Like, the thing with all these newer wrestling games is there's so much to do with them, and it just doesn't as like arcadey. The thing about No Mercy, it was a nice blend between the arcade aspect and like the simulation at the same time. You know, where it was just like, yeah, I have a chance to win this match. Whereas if you play today, it seems like if somebody's very, very advanced in the game, you have no chance to win the match. Ooh, Rob is back. Yo, what's up?
Hey, dude.
Hey.
I don't know what's going on, but I'm back.
Yeah. What location of your home are you right now?
We don't come in here too often for this, but I do have a method to my madness. I just got to find my phone now. So
I like it. It almost looks like you're in an episode of Breaking Bad or something.
This is look at our empty movie theater screen.
Ooh, nice.
Where's my phone? Where's my phone? Where's my phone?
Secret room. That's right. The Bat Cave. Yeah, we got to come up with something there. I'm trying to think what I go. I almost have a name, but I don't.
What are the sponsors?
So our sponsor this week is actually Blue Chew. Let me see if I can pull up that ad. Have better sex with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And starting now, Blue Chew is offering a combo so strong it'll knock your socks off and your neighbor's socks off. Bam! You'll have to move towns with the amount of noise you'll be making. Blue Chew Max has arrived. It combines the active ingredients of Viagra and Cialis into one chewable tablet. This combo acts fast and lasts. Guys, be ready when she needs it and get your first month of Blue Chew free. Great sex is a few clicks away. Sign up at bluechew.com. Consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the US of A and prepared and shipped directly to your door. The best part, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Make life easier by getting harder and discover your options at BlueChew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use promo code RVD. Just pay $5 shipping. That's promo code RVD. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. We thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. And we do have another new sponsor coming up here too that I can plug real quick. That happens to be Turtle Beach. Turtle Beach, if you're a video gamer, and we were just talking about video games, you can get your own Turtle Beach headset, and for a discount too. If you go to turtlebeach.com and you use the code RVD, you can get 10% off your purchase. So be sure to do it. I have Turtle Beach right over here real quick. I'll grab it real quick here. It's a great headset, really high quality stuff. This is the Dell 700. I have an Xbox. So these are really, really high quality stuff. And this was an upgrade for the headset that I have. I feel like I'm in Top Gun with this thing on. But yes, if you go to turtlebeach.com and you can purchase your own headset here and the other good merchandise that they have. But they do high quality work with video games and stuff like that. So be sure to check it out. Go to turtlebeach.com. Use promo code RVD. You get 10% off. And Blue Chew. Blue Chew is a mainstay in pro wrestling podcast. We're happy to have them as a sponsor too. And if you use promo code RVD, you get your first shipment free. All you got to do is pay for shipping. It's just $5. But other than that, everything else is free, and you get your starter pack of Blue Chew. So go to bluechew.com, use promo code RVD, and you get your first box free. So be sure to check that out. Also, shout out to RVD420.com. Greek Glass, folks. They do some great stuff there. High quality RVD glassware that you can get and use And so be sure to go them and support Marco and that team there. They do a wonderful job. So go to rvd420.com, get that glassware. And finally, go to 1tsport.com for any exclusive merchandise for Rob and for other legendary wrestlers on our site as well.
This week's episode of One of a Kind with RVD is presented by Get Blitzed. That's get-blitz.com. Get Blitz Litzade is nano-infused THC syrup, and it is a premium cannabis-infused syrup formulated with nanotechnology for fast-acting effects. And you can get 15% off your order when you head to get-blitz.com and use promo code RVD. Get 15% off. Head to get-blitz.com, promo code RVD, 15% off. It's one of a kind, baby.
And like I said before, too, go to onlywrestlers.com, sign up now, and get ready for that next event happening in Chicago. And subscribe to some of your favorite wrestlers on there, too. A very neat site and a very innovative, cool event. If you get to go and seek out pictures online. Sign up for the Only Wrestlers account on social media and check out what they got going there. So,
My water.
You feel me?
Found it. Relax, everybody.
All right.
All right, so check this out. I moved. I don't know what happened, but, I lost.
Solar flares, maybe?
That's what I was thinking. I'll always think that because that's what it looks like. But I came into the room here where I know that I can hardwire because that's where the router is or whatever. Anyway, didn't work. So I'm back on Wi-Fi now and it's working. But now that I'm in this other room, I want to take advantage because I'm doing something really special for Bad Business Bobby.
Ooh, yes. He deserves everything special. Not Bad Business Bobby.
He does. And I was working on it today for several minutes. And, I don't think I'm going to have it quite done for display on the show, but also it's way too big. What I did was I stitched together a whole bunch of comments that were sent to me by fans, by Dildo. These are all Facebook or Instant Messenger, I believe. So, of course, there's more comments, but there's a lot. And it really gives you a good feel for the support that Bad Business Bobby has from his community. So what I'm going to do, since it's so long, I'm going to play it on this behind me there, as you can see. And so it'll, you'll get an idea for how long it is because can you see it good right there?
I can see it, yeah. I can't read it too well, but
I'm blocking it, but really right now it's just meant to be background fodder. I am going to post it on my YouTube page probably tomorrow. Let's see, what else I can add to it. If you want to get in on it, make sure you send me your messages tonight because I want to put a wrap on it and put this project behind me. And Bobby's been waiting long enough for it, but all Instant Messenger or Facebook, and I'll put it up on my YouTube page, and you'll be able to spend as much time as you want. It's quite enjoyable, and you really get to know the lovable characters.
Well, Rob, now this is
only. Am I so white? Am I white and bleached out like I look like?
It's kind of like brightening it out, yeah, washing it out a little bit, but nothing too crazy.
Can't see shit. Oh,
yeah.
Focus on me instead of that. All right. Well, whatever. You only do so much.
It's not terrible. It's not terrible though.
What about Jon Moxley?
Oh, with the thing in the back.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. What did you think of that, Rob?
The broom of nails. I thought, it's not my thing, not my kind of thing. That's not wrestling to me. But obviously it's sacrificing a lot for the business. I mean, that could be said about it. But the more AEW has been doing stuff like that, the more personally I feel like I would rather be associated with WWE than AEW. A couple of years ago, it was like, man, they're growing, they're trying things, to get up there, and then there's a feel that like the inmates are running the prison, which there always has been, for better or worse. I mean, that was used as a good point at first, like, hey, the boys are running it, cool. But for me, this serves as an example of why that might not be a good idea. But it is a style of wrestling. I mean, I put that with the light bulb matches, the death matches where two people grab each other and jump off the back of a semi truck and land on a pile of light bulbs. That's not my kind of wrestling, and it's something that I personally look at as being lower than the substandard, because it's going to draw only a certain niche crowd that's into that kind of stuff. So what Jon Moxley did with having the spikes stuck in his back, which could have paralyzed him, like it seems like so easily. That is the kind of stuff, like when they put something through Swerve's cheek.
A needle. They put a needle through
that. Yeah, even the staples, all of that stuff just personally is a turnoff for me. And the more I see that they want to go that route, I think, well, for one, it separates WWE from AEW as far as the path that they're taking in the business. And maybe AEW will be known more like the FMW of Japan used to be, where they do exploding piranha matches and stuff. I don't know, but I didn't like it. It's really crazy dangerous. I don't want to knock their freedom of expression. I think, that's probably cool to them, I guess, or or else they would turn it down when it was at the idea phase if it didn't sound cool, right? So congratulations, pulling off a crazy stunt, death-defying stunt that, for better or worse, I don't know that's gonna. I don't know. Will that get ratings? Will people say like, "Oh, I gotta see this. What do they do next?" I don't know. I won't personally.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Rob. I like Moxley. I think he was a great ambassador for AEW. I think he's really good with promos, and I like his look and overall his mentality when it comes to certain things. But like some of this stuff just takes me out of it. I think it's like I don't tune into wrestling for that stuff. And like when I see that it like Wheeler Yuta trying to pull the spike out of his back, and it's just like that gruesomeness of it all. It's like I'm not a squeamish person, but like that kind of I literally like had to look away because I'm like, oh, that's too much. And it's just that aspect of it all is not needed to keep me entertained or me engaged. Whereas like there's different ways to tell a story than to do something like that. And ultimately, I think it's just on a weekly basis. Are people really? Is that really going to get somebody to tune in? I got to tune in next week and see what happens. Maybe it gets a certain amount of people, but I think there's also like a ceiling to that, where it's just like you're not widening an audience, you're not spreading a wider net by doing stuff like that. I think, and not today.
I think so. Just like when I was in ECW, I just wanted to get the exposure so that we would have enough people watch it, so I wouldn't have to leave ECW and go to one of the other companies. But now I realize it was always going to be a niche crowd that was going to, and I was part of that niche crowd. And all of us that were in ECW feel like that was the superior form of entertainment. But I know now that mainstream would disagree, and so we would never be able to, I shouldn't say we wouldn't be able to be taken seriously, but we definitely couldn't get up to compete with one of the top big dogs that were doing it mainstream style. That never would have happened if we were given, everything lined up perfect for us to work out. It still would have been just a certain niche part of the majority of people that were like-minded like us. They'll be like, "Oh, that was so cool," and it wouldn't. The most people, need things simplified, explained out, more cartoonish, and just more mainstream. When you're mainstream, you're reaching a lot more people, so you got to take kids into consideration. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, yeah, who's going to be buying stuff is the parents for those kids and things like that. So it's just like keeping all that in consideration makes it another thing. Now with ECW too, at the same time, it's just like you consider the time period in like the late 90s. What people were kind of seeking for was like MTV, Jerry Springer, certain things like that, or edginess, and certain things. And ECW provided that, like in the aspect of, hey, here's the foundation of what is different than what you're used to seeing in WWE from like, Doink the Clowns or, anything to that effect, where it's just like, now we're getting something else. And that was intriguing in itself. Now it's a different time period. We've seen everything and anything get done in pro wrestling. And so where does that fit in the ecoscape of the pro wrestling world, the mainstream pro wrestling world now? And I think AEW almost provided that alternative very early on, and I was really rooting for them. I still always root for them, but it's also like they're not going in the direction that it seemed initially intended to. And I think it takes away from it. I would love that if they accepted constructive criticism and just kind of took that and be like, all right, this is what we need to adjust with it. But it seems like they have this old mentality in mind where it's just things are all over the place and there's no cohesive kind of unit going on when it comes there. I don't know. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, they're separating themselves. They're not trying to be WWE. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
My
absolutely. Opinion. For good, for better, for worse. Yeah, I would say too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. What else did I want to ask you about, Rob? There was something on my radar. Oh, yeah. So today, did we talk about this? Yeah, we talked about Earthquake and Typhoon getting inducted in the Hall of Fame. I think they got it announced. They officially got announced today, so that's pretty good to see.
Cool. Yeah, Earthquake was, or the other one. Are they both John Tenta?
John Tenta is Earthquake, and then Typhoon is Fred Ottman. Typhoon's Fred Ottman.
Okay, so Typhoon was at the big event, so I saw him just a few days ago. We were at the big event. It was awesome, and then came home and then went to the OWA Hollywood show, which was awesome. And then and we got a lot of new people on the platform too. So keep it coming. Go to OWA, Only Wrestlers Association, and see if it's for you. Follow RVD for free. Follow Katie Forbes for free. And anyway, it was a really busy week because then after Only Wrestlers Association came back here, and then last night was the Chris Bayathon.
Yeah.
So it was busy. I had 3 events in a week. And if you hear it in my voice, I'm a little bit worn down. I was around a lot of people. Some of them had bad breath. I don't know if that was a part of the bacteria that got to me, but I feel like my MU receptors have been compromised.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we're going to have to get the doctor back on the line here.
Yeah. And by the way, he said we haven't heard the last from him. He's just trying to find two people that will agree to be his other 2 personalities so they can come at us in a threesome.
He's going to get different characters in there. He's going to get like a farmer in next because we had a lawyer. We had just some random dude, and then we had a doctor. Ooh, what is that, Rob?
Levy just brought me this.
Oh, how nice of her.
Thanks, Levy.
How about that?
She loves playing fetch.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Coleman 22 with his $5 super chat. Just watched the Fatal 4-Way tag match at WrestleMania 20 with RVD and Booker T. Still one of my favorite matches. Thanks for an awesome childhood, RVD.
Sweet. Hell yeah, man. I love teaming up with Book, and it was so cool because we were actual real partners, in real life. We traveled together, and we're really good friends. And so that made, just like with me and Sabu, like with me and Rey Mysterio, I love Ray, great guy, best guy, but not too many times did we travel together and hang out. I mean, not that we wouldn't, but it just wasn't like that. We kind of had our own things, and then we get to work, and then we would get together, and I'd say, Ray, and he'd say, Rob, and then we get together. Me and Kane, we didn't travel together. Never saw him outside of wrestling. You know what I mean? So sometimes it'd be like that, and sometimes it's not.
Well, his face was burned, so you couldn't really see him anyways outside.
It would have been embarrassing.
Yeah, it would have been probably. He had to hide that stuff.
I get enough people staring at me.
You don't want Glenn Jacobs staring at you like that either.
No.
So when taking with Booker and you riding with him, it's Taboo too. I guess this would apply to. Do you find like you have better in-ring chemistry with somebody if you like ride with them and like relate with them better and stuff like that in comparison to somebody like a Ray or a Kane necessarily, or is there really no difference?
That's a great question. I would say when it comes to being in the ring, there's not a difference, but overall in the bigger picture, there's a fuller experience of the partnership when it carries outside.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
How about that? Yeah. Okay, that's good. Hey, did you want to filter through some of the YouTube comments we had from about Bad Business Bobby that I got a couple weeks ago, but we had so many guests on for the past few weeks, we didn't get to use them yet. I still have them in the Tilly here if you want to.
I mean, if you grabbed them, let's do it. I know most of this you can't read, but you get, if you're watching that, you get an idea that there's a lot, and maybe you recognize some of yours on there because I'm giving you credit for your comments. So if you sent me something and don't want your name on it, oops.
Oopsie.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Accountability here. I like how Bobby said something about someone that makes fun of my voice because I had cancer isn't much of a person to me. That's how Bobby says it.
Is that what he said? Did he say that on social media or something?
I think it was in a Facebook post.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Something somebody sent to me. They helped keep me up on his comments. Yeah. And like I said before, dude, that's what you sound like. If I'm going to do an impression of anybody, if I'm going to do an impression of Donald Trump and I say, okay, you ready? We need to block those walls. We need to build the wall. That's not a very good impression because I don't sound like him, right?
Yeah, right. A beautiful wall, a very big wall, tremendous wall.
I tell you, this is going to be the biggest wall. I don't know. But anyway.
Look at that picture, Bob.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
That's a horror film right there.
I built forever.
All right. I am
when you try to get an impression down, you know, that's what you do is, and especially if it's an audio thing. So sorry, Bobby doesn't understand that. Sorry, you know, don't blame me for what you sound like. Don't blame me for you spitting all over people when you talk to them. And don't blame me for you being a bad business bastard.
Bad business. That's
with another B in it fit, you know. And now fans can say, whoa, RVD is pissed. I've never seen him so angry. He is on fire.
He's salty. He's very salty.
like
what I put on my watermelon.
E reset, UM reset. What are they? MU receptors.
MU receptors.
They're fucked. They're fried.
Well, Rob, I almost forgot too that Bobby has some new merch out. Do we want to show it on?
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Look at this. What timing? Boom.
There you go.
Heinz Crime Kid.
I got it, dude. I got it in there.
He's leaning into it, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm tired. There's got to be a way I can make money off this. Yeah, and it's great. He even puts Dildo as Dildo. Bad Business Bobby, Dildo Heinz, Uncle Jackie. And then Dildo says, hey, someone's using my likeness to make some money. I might have to get a lawsuit again. I might have to take legal action. Yeah, it's all on there.
All about the legal action.
But a lot of this, I'm going to post it probably tomorrow, definitely before our next show, which will be real quick since we're doing a Monday. And by the way, yeah, a lot of people tell me they're watching or listening to the show. If they're doing it live, and they might be confused with our schedule, but we're hopping around what day you want to do it this week based on our schedules and stuff. I don't know yet. Have you been paying attention to like what days work best as far as getting, for the people
Tuning in live kind of thing?
Yeah.
I'd probably say, I guess, Thursday for the most part, just because that's our most consistent day of the week that we do the show on.
Right.
Because like right now we have over 1,000 people tuning in live, but usually it seems like we got way over that on Thursdays or later on in the week. So
that's only a tenth of 10,000.
That's it. That's only a tenth. That's it.
Right.
Before I do those comments real quick, I did want to bring this up. This was a YouTube comment in the Sandman episode, and I wanted to get your thoughts on what this commenter had to say. So this is from Mark. I can't read the whole thing. Mark 2YD, I think it is. Even though a lot of these guys are losers, at least, they were actually lunatics and had charisma. Speaking of older wrestlers. Didn't matter that they couldn't wrestle. It's fake. The guys nowadays barely drink a beer, and it shows in their personalities. Wrestling used to be a bit of an outcast thing, a bit like punks. Nowadays, it's a bunch of nerds, and it shows in the audience. Maybe I'm old, but wrestling now is close to unwatchable. Punk is an all-time great talker, in my opinion, but he would have been a heel in the 80s and 90s because of his life choices. Too many wannabe influencers and failed athletes nowadays. Bring back excessive steroids. Now, I'm sure that to an extent that's some trolling going on, but
what?
Some trolling going on, maybe he's doing a little bit, but some of that thought and aspect of it all, like wrestlers today are nerds, and that takes you out of the element where there's some outcasts. What do you kind of think of some thoughts or comments regarding that?
I get it. It's some of us on the other side of the curtain refer to it as a video game era of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I think it seems like a lot of the guys learn how to wrestle playing video games, and you can say so many times there's a lot of old school mindset tools we were given that the guys nowadays don't have. So it takes away from it, and it does make it different. I personally, cringe a little bit when I see two guys doing something that I think is like really stupid, like when they're wrestling each other. Two guys last night, they go for the test of strength, but then he goes for the other hand and then goes for the other hand. And so they went like this a few times, and then they start like dancing. And then he's looking like, whoa, what am I doing? Like he's lost control of him dancing. And then he runs over and clotheslines the other guy. That kind of like, to me, the Sheik would have like choked me, the life out of me.
Yeah.
And it makes me cringe because it's like an example of how new wrestling is. But I got to say, even though it made me cringe, the crowd loved it, so it's like, it makes me think, it's subjective, and it's definitely different than it used to be. There's no stopping that.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully it won't change so fast that it just dissipates into nothingness.
Right. And
I don't think it will. I don't think it will.
No, I don't think it will. Yeah, I think things kind of balance itself out in a lot of ways. I think you're still going to get, I think with so many of the wrestlers back in the day and everything, and even in the 90s and before that, there was almost like this outlaw thought process, like a wild bunch of characters coming into play, and everybody had personalities and things like that. So to an extent, I kind of get like maybe an aspect of that has been gone, and you think about, oh yeah, these guys are kind of like me in a way. They play video games, or they watch the same shows I do. They talk about the same shows I do, and social media maybe perpetuates some of that. So I think there is an aspect of truth to a lot of that stuff, but in the same turn too, it's kind of good that, hey, drugs are not running rampant all over the place and people aren't dying and certain things like that. So, but there's also the argument that can be made. People are taking a lot more high risk maneuvers in certain ways too. So how does it all balance out? I don't know.
Kylie Myers, that is the match that I was referring to, by the way. It was a great match. Great match, by the way. But that was just something that stuck out to me in my crowd. That's why, for me, when I watch wrestling, it's hard to not critique it. it's people working, doing my job, so I critique it. But everybody worked their asses off. What a great show that was last night. What a great turnout. And then I left a little early, so I didn't see till Katie showed me on, I guess, Instagram or whatever. But at the end, when Chris Bay walked out, like what a fucking moment. And it was great because like he walked out there and he's standing there, and then just even him going up the steps was like a big build up. Like, no, is he good? He's going up the steps. Look at that motherfucker, And I just wondered, like, has he been in the ring yet? Is that the first time he's been in the ring since he got hurt? Did he come in earlier in the day to make sure he could do it? I don't know, but it's really inspiring. He's not letting having a broken neck and partial paralysis that could have been permanent get in the way of his future. So
absolutely. And he's been super positive, and people have been supportive online with him. It's been really neat to kind of see that, him kind of just giving posts of inspiration and stuff like that in a time where he's like, going through this journey, like this very, very tough journey. So he's definitely a huge inspiration, I think, to not just wrestling, but just people outside of it too, I think. So hats off to them, and hats off for a great show too, from what it seemed like. A lot of great matches. I was looking at the card and I was like, holy smokes, I didn't know this person or that person wrestled on there, and some really intriguing matchups on there too. So pretty neat.
I got to see some guys I haven't seen in a long time. Frankie Kazarian, of course, Rich Swann, Killer Cross, Scarlett, which, by the way, Cross, Scarlett, and Chris Bay, anybody else? They were all at our wedding.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Nice little tight little brother sisterhood or whatever, like to really everyone, and I guess Killer Cross, did a lot to put this together. I guess that's the impression I'm under, because he thanked me for coming. And anyway, it's awesome to see that done for the young goat, Chris Bay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that.
And by the way, I mean, it's like a lot of times, just in comparison over the years, there's been so many fundraisers that have been bullshit. So many, where the money doesn't end up in the right pockets, and it's structured in a way where it's most likely going to end up like that. And just to know, not only was this one not, but I mean, I've gotten a few breakdowns of how some of his bills are being handled, and then how he's getting gifts on top of that, and how everybody wants to put him in the right place so he can not have to worry about shit and can just get back to where he needs to be. And it's so awesome.
Yeah, just I can't even fathom like just that added element of worrying about like, oh man, how am I going to pay for all this, and how am I like, and worrying about that on top of you worrying about your own physical well-being of getting better and stuff. It's just, man, so that has to be such a huge relief, and it's awesome to see such a great contingency of fans and wrestlers going there to support them and everything too. So
and it being legit, not being like, well, after the first 20,000, he gets 10% of everything. I've been to so many of those, and been invited to some, and I knew that's what they were and didn't go to.
Yeah, man, good stuff there to beware of that and avoid that. We got the super chat here from none other than Seth. Awesome show Thursday. RVD and Katie were super chill. I saw RVD vaping inside all night, so I did too. Highlights were Tessa Blanchard, Charlie Haas, and Jordan Blues Cakes. 5 stars. Would go again. So how about that? Hell yes.
Yeah, everyone I talked to said they had a great time and that it was an awesome show. And they're all really behind what we're trying to do, even if they don't completely understand it.
Yeah, that's great. It's cool. Even the photos that I saw, I was like, that has some great presentation already set up.
Yeah.
So you guys started off on the right foot for sure.
Yeah. And by the way, I really enjoyed watching Charlie Haas work. That was like, he worked Luke Hawks, and they had and anyway, it just stood out in my mind, like just seeing somebody like with a old school approach of just take his pace, his timing, his reactions, controlling the crowd. It's just it was a pleasant surprise that from my perspective, he was exhibiting a lot of what you don't see anymore. It was obvious to me in that way. So I really enjoyed that.
Man, yeah, what's old is new again, and that's what's neat about like some of those guys like that. Charlie Haas he was one of my early favorites too, back in the early Ruthless Aggression era. I was like, oh, I love Charlie Haas. So.
Yeah, he disappeared for a while, and then when he came back, on social media or whatever, after a while, like he looked a little scary at first. Like, whoa, what the fuck happened? Look at him now. He looks like, to me, he looks maybe better than he ever did. He's jacked, big, and he's moving like the amateur wrestler that he was.
Heck yeah. Charlie Haas, the man. Cool. All right, let's do some of these Bobby Fulton comments here. Some bad business. Shout out to Joe Dombrowski, who was on the commentary team with that IWC this weekend. He took a dig at bad business, Bobby, saying, so what did he say? He's like, oh, I've heard about some nefarious stuff going on in Chillicothe, Ohio. And I was like, oh, you want to talk about bad business? That is bad business there. So we made the reference on air for that. So shout out to Joe Dombrowski.
I said earlier, everywhere I go, people are telling me, hey, I really enjoy listening to the podcast. Most of them follow up with, I'm glad you tore into the crime family because they fucked me over, my friend or whatever, which you can read all them on this video. Yes. I paused it because I like the light there.
My other co-host too on Rumor and Innuendo, the daily wrestling show I did, he works in Florida and he works for Boca Raton Florida Championship Wrestling. And he was saying, a lot of wrestlers backstage had some bad business Bobby stories.
Yeah, it's amazing how long he's been screwing everybody over, and it seems like nobody till me spoke up about it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now that I say something, everybody's got a story.
Yeah. Everybody's got a story now.
What a way to make it through your career. Bad business Bobby. Yeah.
I can't believe, honestly, I can't believe it lasted so long, right? You would think somebody would get outed like that pretty quickly. I don't know, but
that means he's a really good scammer.
That's it.
People really believe that it's not me, it's Dildo. Yeah.
Well, let's see what some commenters had to say on the YouTube chat. So this is from Outer Haven. He said, I had a run-in with Bobby Fulton once when I was wrestling for this one promotion in Chillicothe some years back. Long story. He wanted the building. So he sent a goon into the ring during a match, but with Madman Pondo and Viper, the goof got his ass kicked and we continued the show. How about that? Next comment we got Michael Collins. Bad Business Bobby. I love the irony of Better Business Bureau and Bad Business Bobby having the same initials.
Yeah, that is true.
Maybe he can make a shirt of that one.
Bad Business Bobby, a married man now.
Now this is a long one. Here, I'll power through it. Pelican Plucker. Oh, Pelican Effer for life. I grew up to.
You ever fucked a pelican? By the way,
never.
Okay, me either.
Yeah. Interesting. Let's get some. Has anybody in the chat fucked a pelican before? Let us know.
Is this a thing?
Is this a thing here? Well, he said, I grew up going to James Hine Promotions early in the 90s. Bobby and Jackie Fulton, Brad and Bart Batten, the Heavenly Bodies, the Rock and Roll Express, JYD, Abby, Tommy Rich, Ronnie Garvin, Brian Lee, and Chris Candido with Tammy. The Mongolian Mahler, and I'm sure there were more, but there are a few names I remember him bringing in. Those guys were pretty much the primes at the time, or close to it. This would have been 91, 92 as a teenager. When I got to meet and know Wild Bull Miller for good, RIP Bull was a longtime promoter. Bobby Fulton ran his shows in Circleville, Ohio, but anyways, Bull spoke very poorly of Hines. And he got into business locally in Central Ohio and got to know everyone who had pretty much anything to do with indie wrestling at the state, and nobody ever had a good thing to say about Jimmy Hines, a.k.a. Bobby Fulton. His brother George, a.k.a. Jackie, was always cool. I lived in Chillicothe around 04 and 07-ish, but never went to any Bobby shows when he showed back up around 2007. I did get to accomplish a somewhat silly goal in promoting and performing on a show I put together at Old Pickaway Foundation, where I attended big-time wrestling shows growing up in Circleville, and that was pretty cool. We had an Abyss and Cincy, very young and green, and less than 10 matches EC3 from Cleveland, but they do have very shady reputations. So there we go. Wow. So way back when.
Yes, they do have the shadiest of shady reputations.
Very, very shady. Next comment we had was it this one? Okay, Gregory Thrupp says stood behind Bobby at a gas station. He was trying to get a dude outside who recognized him to buy shirts kind of aggressively. I seen him wrestle in the Midnight Express when I was a kid, and I knew he was too, but he came off like a loudmouth. All right.
Bobby's hardcore selling shirt. Just buy it. It's for me and Uncle Jackie.
Jeez, oh man.
Covers his mouth because he knows that he'll spit on you and spray you first, and then when you go, then he puts a towel over his mouth when he talks. So that's why I did that.
Oh,
imitating him. I'm trying to get his bodyisms down.
The whole effect.
Yeah.
Brando Lee says from a month ago, he said they sold a bunch of replica titles that were supposed to be signed by guys like Sting, et cetera, and they were not. The ones that were signed, how much you want to bet that they did it themselves? I could be wrong, but I sure as hell wouldn't be shocked. And yeah, stick it to them, Rob. Every chance you get. I suggest everybody else do the same. Us wrestling fans are loyal diehards and don't deserve that shit. And neither do wrestlers that break their backs, train and travel, constantly making living for the business we all love, respect, and are passionate for the only to be scammed for a piece of trash like him. Wow, Brando, well said there.
No, this is fun. I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy this. I'm glad you decided to read the
hey, thanks.
The YouTube comments. And by the way, it reminds me of something. They had that show recently, last couple weeks ago, March 8th in Chillicothe. The show must go on. And they had the reboot. And anyway, I got everyone saw Dildo's report. He sent pictures saying that the house wasn't shit without him. He also sent me some stuff, and he said that some of the guys tried not to pay some of the guys. One of the things that was on there was that he tried to short Vampiro, and I didn't think it was worth mentioning. But guess who I sat by at the big event? Vampiro.
What?
What business, Bobby? You tried to short Vampiro and not pay him what you owed him for the night? You are so shitty, dude. So I'm not saying I got it from a good source, but I got it from the fucking number one best source. And I don't want to try and get anybody in jeopardy of not getting future work that they could get, so I don't want to be too specific, but he did sit right next to me, and I did already say who was next to me. So if you can put that together, then you get the implications. Bobby, you tried to shorten some other guys that were there, and you tried to give him a short handout, fucking shortened his envelope. You're probably hoping that he would leave and not notice till he got home. But he's a pro. He fucking looks at everything right there on the spot. So anyway, this is fun though. Is there more? Or is
There's
that
one more. We got one more on here.
And my battery is dying. So if I disappear, then I'm just gonna
pull a Sabu.
Yeah, I'm not plugged in. My cord is not long enough. I don't want to bother with you with all of it, but
it's okay. We'll close it out with this one then. All right, it's a short one. Jonathan Turbide. Tommy Rogers was always the star of the Fantastic. Fulton was the Marty of the team. Oh.
Poor Marty.
That's kind of a bad break, though, for Marty, because Marty was really talented. I think Shawn Michaels was just like...
But he's saying that one of them was the bright shining star that broke out. And Tommy was really cool. He was my friend, and he lived in Hawaii, and whenever I would go to Hawaii, which was one of my favorite places to vacation, I'd always get with Tommy, hook up with him, and hang out. And I miss him.
Oh, man, yeah. Some would say he's fantastic, Rob.
Yeah, some would.
Some would say that.
I met Tommy when he came to ECW, and he was there for a little bit.
Oh,
and then we became friends. Yeah, I guess Paul probably brought him in. Someone brought him in.
That's always fascinating too when I go back and see like guys I would not expect in ECW, just really, really kind of a neat thing because that's such a cool promotion that you wouldn't expect certain talent to be in, but here they are.
Yeah. We, the food stops like Roy Rogers on the Northeast. Tommy was driving. There was a bunch of us in a car, and Tommy had the responsibility of driving the first part, and we pulled over at one of those Roy Rogers things, and then a little while later, I noticed first off that we were going like 15 miles an hour. And then second, we were going the wrong way, going back the way that we came. And I saw on the signs, and I was like, Tommy, what the fuck, dude? We're going back to Philly. We're supposed to go that way. And he was his responses were not real comprehensible. He had really soft words, that weren't quite complete. Like, huh, what? What happened? Huh? And he was like looking, like really trying to focus. And we were like, "Did you fucking eat some somas?" He goes, "Yeah, I ate a couple. I didn't think it'd be, man, fucking pull over." And that's the first time I remember really talking to him. And I was like, man, like he had some heat, because now I got to drive. I'd eaten some too, and I'd eaten some because I didn't think I was gonna drive.
Right.
I had to drive on him because I knew I was gonna do a better job than him. But that's the first time I remember hanging out with him and kind of bonding with him.
Oh my gosh, that's good stuff. We got one more question in the super chat. Cal Z, thanks for the $5. Hey guys, RVD, what was your most embarrassing moment working in Japan?
Embarrassing moment.
Moment.
Damn, one of them thought questions.
Full circle. We talked about ego earlier in the show. Now we're going to embarrassing.
Right. Trying to think of what would qualify me to be embarrassed in the ring,
Mm-hmm.
That's not an easy one to answer.
Would it be like, I know Kawada like laid it in on you really good and stuff like that. Would that be something that you were like initially embarrassed about? Maybe
not at all. I loved showing that I could take it and make it look even better than when he kicked anybody else. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
I took pride in that stuff. It probably would have been maybe if I had to do a job to someone that I didn't think I should have to, like if I was maybe me and Sabu lost to Akiyama and Honda Amori. Honda, whatever his last name was. And it wasn't that embarrassing, but it was a really competitive match, and we felt like they were being groomed and they were going to be the tag team champions, and we were like fodder for them. So that was kind of embarrassing because me and Sabu were like, man, we should be beating them. We should be the tag team champions.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my answer.
That's a good one. Nothing embarrassing like where like Baba kind of like give you a right act or anything to that effect? Nothing of that?
No.
He
had me get in the ring and was trying to show me how me running the ropes doesn't work, because I look at the ropes and I hit them and then I turn around to feed. I hate the way most people run the ropes when they just hit their back into it.
Yeah.
Put their hands on the middle, and then they can see what they're running into. I would never train anybody that way, but a lot of people are trained. The majority of people probably, but that's not the way I do it. And Baba wanted to make a point of it. Told me to get in the ring one time in the daytime. Told me to run the ropes, and I do it the way I do. I don't turn until I have to turn and feed the direction I'm going. I run at the ropes, and I use the ropes. They really fucking bounce me. When you hit your back against it, you're all, it's not as easy to get the slingshot off of it.
Yeah.
But he put me in there, and he put he whispered something to the young boy in the green shorts. I can't remember his name right now. And he got in the ring when I was running the ropes. Baba said, run the ropes. And he had the guy go in, and the guy like pancaked, went down on his belly. Like I hit the ropes, and as I turned, the guy's there, and that was supposed to trip me, but I jumped over him. And then he did it again. I jumped over him because it does work. I turn and then see, and I got plenty enough time. You're not gonna, I'm not. He was saying that his point was that you need to see more
Warrior
often.
kill.
My head's turned, and that's my point. Is no, that kills it, and it's stupid. If I see what I'm not going to run into it if I see it coming like that. And anyway, he dropped down 2 or 3 times, and then on the last one, I hit the ropes, and he dropped down, and I spun and did a back handspring like over his back and landed on my feet and went here, and everybody popped, and then that wasn't embarrassing at all. I proved him wrong, and
You proved Baba wrong.
but then what the answer was after all of that was something I've heard throughout all my career. Well, that wouldn't work for most people, but it does for you. Just I've heard that so many times.
You know why, Rob? Because you're one of a kind.
Yep, that's it. Because I'm RVD, it works. Otherwise, I guess no one else could run the ropes. I don't know, but yeah, that's what I get all the time. Well, yeah, but you're RVD.
Yeah, but come on.
Yeah.
The exception to the rule. Your wrestler's favorite wrestler, Rob Van Dam.
Yeah. Your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler.
That's it. All right, Rob. Anything you want to plug? I plugged all the shit earlier on. So is there anything else that you want to plug though before we close?
Nope. We're doing a show on Monday because we didn't squeeze it in last week. So we still got to do this week's show. So we'll probably be right back here in a few days. So
yeah,
just wait till then. It won't be too long. And I'll have the video posted so you can enjoy. And I'll add, if I see any other videos, it tells a bit of a story when you go through it and stuff. Although some things are out of order. That's why I want to take a little time, a little bit. Maybe I can make it a little better because there's so much on there. And it's funny, even though it's splattered all over. But when I can say, wait a second, that's page 2 and page 1's right here, and put them together, it makes it a little better. And I want Bobby to know how important, he is to me. And I just don't want to disappoint. I want this thing to be
down.
I want it to be beautiful.
You don't want to short him, Rob. You don't want to short him.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. You never did that. So
nah,
never.
We don't short each other.
No. You feel me?
That's it.
All right, guys. This has been a fun one. Rob, it's nice to collaborate with you. And the MU receptors are cooking now again.
Yeah. And guys, thanks for caring about my MU receptors.
Mm-hmm. We appreciate all that. We appreciate all the fans, Maddie, Triple E, Jem the Don, you name it, everybody out there. And some newcomers too, everybody we appreciate. So
I think the Kings of Alto, comes out like this week.
Yeah, I think you're right. Did it already come out? It might have already came out.
I need to check it out then.
Yeah, I got to check it out too. Gonna add that to my list.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time here on One of a Kind with RBD.
You feel me?